on color crafting connection. Mushroom dyeing is a practice of resilience and restoration. And it's a little bit philosophical. The last time I talked, it was very much like, this is how you dye with mushrooms. But this time, I don't know, I just felt like to switch it up a little. So I'll be reading my notes a little bit, which makes it a little dry, but there are things that I want to say that I can't just roll off the top of my tongue. So, and I might have to sit down because I can't see my notes. If you need me to speak louder or project further, let me know. So this talk is a review, a reminder, and it may be a fresh take to a few. Adjacent to mushroom and lichen dyeing, I wanted to speak about the importance of finding connection and community, grounding in nature, and thriving during times of hardship. Shit's weird right now. Yeah. Yep. Okay, I don't know if this works. And I can't see it. Oh no. Let me see. No. I'm gonna just start pushing buttons. Okay. So what motivates you to go foraging? Is it curiosity and wonder? Useful elements like exercise, food, and medicine? Dyes? Quietude, fresh air? Ecological observations? All of the above? Well, I don't have the answers to anything really. I know that fresh air in nature and foraging with a friend and deep diving into the unpredictability of color extraction replenishes my energy in ways unparalleled, and I wanted to share that with you. Oops. So everyone has their own way to disengage from the madness. I like to think of this as an intentional necessity. Each return to nature is an annual rite. So if you go out for morels, that's one annual rite. Porcini, that's another one, and so on. So keep that calendar going. Find your way and find it often. Foraging together is the best way to learn. Intergenerational learning is a powerful gift. Joining your first foray can be intimidating, but the reward can last a lifetime. How many people here have forged lifelong connections through mushrooming? Foraging with friends is one of my favorite things to do. Friends help spot things that might be overlooked. They can reflect on observation details, and they can point out the invisible, sometimes inadvertently. How many times have I been searching for black trumpets only to see a squished one in front of me and realize that I'm surrounded by them? It takes a friend to squish the mushroom in front of you, to point that out sometimes. Engaging children with the practice of foraging for color is particularly rewarding for both the adult and especially for the small human. Kids have a keen sense of curiosity and a close to the earth perspective and are enchanted by collecting for a purpose. They are forever influenced by these early glimpses into nature. See my little nephew in the middle there?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
He found the tiniest little red hygrospy.
Oh.
He looks like a stunner.
I know.
Yeah.
He's just a little guy.
Looks like there's another one over there too.
There might be. I have two nephews. So this was a camp out that I did a few springs ago, and these kids scoured the campground for wolf lichen and got to dye their own scarves, and they just were so enthralled. It does. A lot of what I do looks like pasta. And smells delicious too, but don't eat it. So as a child of a forager myself, I am forever grateful to have this activity imprinted early. Engaging in nature in this way is not only a lifelong skill, it is a regulator that will carry one through hard times. Foraging alone is good too. You don't have to share. But you want to find a safe place to go alone. And for me, I really don't go foraging alone that much, unless it's like this was just right off a roadside. there's a lot of scary things in the woods. And you guys have mountain lions.
And each other.
Yeah, and humans.
And each other.
And rangers.
Yeah.
So you want to know the rules of the space to avoid hefty fines. Mushroom clubs will help guide you. Local regulations are all over the place. I was happy to hear that reflected from Phil earlier, because in Washington, where I live, they make no sense, and every jurisdiction has their own rules. And they can depend on the whim of the enforcer. So there are some rules that are like edibles only. You can collect 5 gallons, edibles only. And there's a ranger out there that makes you say that you're gonna eat your mushrooms. And if you're just collecting for ID, you get fined. It's crazy.
Wow.
So most mushroom hunting regulations are not science-based, but that is another talk. So upon arrival, take a few moments to take it all in. This is my meditative part of the talk. Take a few deep breaths and open your mind to the feeling of gratitude for the basic elements of life. Use your senses to take note of the space. Feel the temperature, the humidity on your skin. Is it windy, cold, hot, dry, or damp? Listen to the sounds of birds, people, animals. Smell the air. Is it clean, musty, or smoky? Stick to the path or keep it in sight. Most mushrooms are found in openings and edges. I know some people just up, and you don't see them again till the end of the foray. I'll never forget John, I can't remember his last name though.
John Brown?
John Brown. Where'd he go?
Mr. Antelope Man.
Wearing shorts.
Yeah, you're like,
His pink shorts.
yes. Take a moment to look for wildlife. This is a great time to watch, to just take a moment to watch the forest scene unfold. There's a lot going on out in these spaces, and if you are too busy tromping up the mountain, you don't actually get to enjoy that moment.
Ooh.
Keep an eye out for signs of others. I looked for a human shoe print too, but I couldn't find one. You know, I am always looking at tracks as well. Proceed informed. Foraging as a restorative practice is most effective when you slow down. Dye fungi are a good starting point because there's zero risk. Implement the loose gaze. Look for colorful and abundant fleshy fungi. You'll start to see patterns and speculate about relationships to trees and other aspects of the landscape. The noise and excitement of your day-to-day is replaced with a softness, a slower pace. Your nervous system needs this reset. This is an excellent time to be slow, even if only for a moment. And these are just some of the things that I've seen when I've slowed down. There is a pointer on this. This is the mushroom that's named after me. So I'm curious.
There you go.
Dingy, ephemeral, just like me. And a bunch of other mushrooms that are really fun to find. Okay.
What great picture.
These are some of my favorite Northern California dye mushrooms.
Strawberry.
Some of these photos were taken in this area, like those beautiful yellow pored boletes at the top. But all of these occur somewhere between here and Del Norte. You just gotta find them. Familiarize yourself with the most common and abundant dye species in your area. For inland, that'll be Physolithus, Gymnopolis, Omphalodus, the orange Cortinarius, with the orange gills, Dyer's polypore, boletes, and more. And as you head towards the north coast, your palette expands to include the red quartz, coral mushrooms, woolly-based chanterelles, false chanterelles, that's got such a long name, and fungi that give the blue-green dyes. So those are the hydnellums and the phelodons, like I call it strawberries and cream because I'm old, but people call it vampire tooth and all sorts of weird things now.
You use the pointers and pointers?
Yeah. If I can see the. So this is one of the tooth fungi, Hidnellum pecii. Strawberries and cream is the old name for it, common name for it. What do people call it now? What? Still? Yeah. Okay. It's regional. Like I've seen it online. It gets a lot of attention because it's so juicy. Hidnellum ceruleum. This gives a blue-green dye. And Hidnellum fusco-indicum is the prize of the blue-green dyers, and you can find that in Jackson State Forest. So, getting up to that zone, Humboldt, you find more diversity of the fancy dye mushrooms. That's what I call them. So these are some of the ways that I collect mushrooms. This is if I'm observing. I just take a little pack with wax paper bags and a little dropper bottle. See that? That's got chlorine bleach in it to tell me if a lichen is a magenta dye maker. And little tags that tell me, you know, remind me what things to write down, like the habitat and the substrate.
So, what does the Clorox do to show you that it's
It's a little scratch test that you do on the lichen, and you scratch off the algae, and you put a drop of bleach on there, and if it makes a purple dye through a different process, which takes time, it'll turn blood red for about 15 seconds. And so if you get that reaction, then you know it's worth collecting for that purpose.
and what kind of lichen does that?
Flavopunctilia, it's a very common lichen.
Is it?
It's like a
already
shield.
speared?
No, it's like a shield lichen that you see on bark.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have friends that have wood stoves
Yeah.
and burn wood,
Yeah.
maybe a little inland, all of their firewood's covered with this lichen.
Wow.
That's my trick. I go visit Thea and scrape her firewood. Baskets, bins, and babies. I like going out with my friends who also aren't afraid to take their babies in the woods. I use aluminum foil to keep structure around my collecting. So if I have something I want to identify, I'll wrap it in foil sometimes before throwing it in my basket. But a lot of times I just go freestyle and kind of, like, I'm not prepared usually. This way? No, this way.
And foil is good for spore prints too.
Yeah. But desperate times call for desperate measures. Dog poop bags do the trick, and nobody asks you what's in the dog poop bag.
They don't want to
I'm looking for my dog.
Yeah, right. A good citizen. So I like to do spore prints on the fly, like Kat just said. I like to stick a little piece of paper in that wax bag or in my tackle box. On my way home, it'll leave a spore deposit, which will help me identify at least a genus, the mushroom that I have. And this was just a particularly beautiful accidental spore print. This way.
That's really cool.
So once you hit the mother lode, you're gonna wanna dehydrate this or put it in the freezer. But I prefer to dehydrate my mushrooms, my dye mushrooms, because it takes some of the guesswork out of the recipe for making the dye. So there's a lot of water in mushrooms, as they were saying with the cabbage, 10 pounds and 3 pounds. It's the same thing with mushrooms. If you go by weight, you'll never know what you're gonna get with your dyes. So, but if you take that moisture out of the equation, then you have a better idea of how much of a ratio to use. And
Wow.
I am a mushroom dye prepper, so I have these bins of dye mushrooms and lichens, and sometimes they spill. So I'm gonna
Aw.
How long can you keep them for?
forever. I have 2014 collections and I like to collect regionally. So if I'm teaching in Humboldt, I try to use mushrooms I've collected in Humboldt.
Very cool.
And so on. So, yeah, some of my collections just sit there waiting for somebody to call me and say, come teach. So I'm prepared. So lichens are another talk, but I wanted to give you an abbreviated intro. So this is these are some notable species. This is Flavopunctelia, and you recognize it. You can't really see it in the, well, I can't see it without my glasses on. But if you have good eyes, you can see that it has kind of a little freckled appearance to that green.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ways you can visually see that Flavopunctelia apart from the smooth version, which is not a magenta dye maker. But Flavopunctelia will respond to the chlorine bleach scratch test and make that blood red spot.
Do we have that here?
Yes, it's everywhere.
Really?
Maybe not in Santa Cruz, but if you cross the bridge, it's probably in Phil's yard.
Everything's in
Like,
Bozo.
you just gotta get out of that fog zone, and then it starts being everywhere.
Wow. That
I
purple's
don't
amazing.
think I've ever seen it here.
Yeah, if you go on iNaturalist, you can kind of see where people are finding it, but it's in the Bay Area. It's like, you just gotta get to a little bit drier.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Xanthoria periotina, and I think this is I don't know if this works.
Go for it.
I've never heard of
Okay, it's a time-lapse video.
it. Really? Wow.
So you soak the lichen in ammonia, and so it's an orange lichen. You soak it in ammonia, it turns to a pink liquid, and then you put it in the sun while it's still wet, and it turns blue. And the woman holding the speckled bit of yarn, we've twisted it up so that only the top turned blue, and then the
wow.
underside was still pink.
That's cool.
And then you unwrap it, and once it's dry, it's stable-ish. The UV index here is pretty strong. But, so even when it's dry and you're in the northern climate, it won't turn blue. But
Wow.
here, you're probably gonna lose that pink eventually.
And are there any side effects to you put that on your body?
No,
No?
because of the ammonia?
Or the color?
The color? I don't know. Yes, Peter?
Did you do her hair with that?
And she was a student in one of my classes, and she just happened to
I'd
be,
like to try that.
she just matched.
She didn't rub her hair.
No, but she looks like she had Flavopunctelia.
I was gonna say that
But
too.
could you dye your hair?
People have dyed their hair in my classes with various mushrooms. It helps if you're like bleached,
Yeah.
real bleached.
How would you like to turn it?
How long does it last?
Oh, it's gonna do it again.
So
It not,
normally the color of the lichen
Yeah.
is not what we see, what we get.
yes, true. Yeah, and I have a slide about that coming up soon too.
Mm.
But Usmia lichen is another common dye.
But you were saying that it exposed to sun, it turns blue.
Yeah.
So you have to walk around with a scarf on your head.
Well, maybe you could do it in your socks or something.
No, it's stable when it's dry.
It's stable when it's dry, but then if you had it in a hat, you have humidity in the air and in your hair.
When it becomes unstable again.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you can never get it back to pink, which I've never been a huge fan of pink, but when you tell me I can't ever have it again, then I want to save it.
You want it, you want it.
Okay.
Interesting.
Lotharia vulpina, this is a lichen that you see out when you're collecting morels over on the east side in the mountains. The basic thing with lichens, so fungi are an underground organism, you just have the fruiting body, it's not a big deal to collect that fruiting body. But with lichens, the whole organism is what you see. So when you pick it off of a tree or a rock, you are altering the course of that lichen's life. So as a dyer, we never collect from what I call the happy growing place of lichens. So this branch looks pretty happy that's on the ground. This one. but it actually has broken off from a much higher part of the canopy. And once it's fallen to the ground, it no longer has that airflow and all of the things that it had when it was in its happy growing place. So that is considered an ethical place to collect that lichen. Now, if that branch was still standing in its natural position, you wouldn't collect it. So you have to use some discernment when you're working with lichens. But if you've ever seen this lichen, it's often just all over the forest floor where it's blown down from the trees. This is up in the red fir zone. And I just threw in these other dye mushrooms. These are additional spring dyers that you should look out for while you're out mushrooming, because maybe you'll find morels, maybe you won't, but you'll probably find some dye mushrooms. Oops, this way. So here's some examples of spring dyes that colors that I might not have paired together, but these colors were all collected in one day. And so there's a thing about palette of place that I really love, that's your entire palette, but palette of the day or palette of the event. So this is a foray that I went on with a neighboring mushroom club, and I just love the idea of incorporating that one single day into something. I'm not a maker, so I have to find somebody to make it, but anyway, I like it. So these yellow coral mushrooms, have you seen these in the spring when you're looking for morels? They're really good dye makers, but you have to use them fresh.
Huh.
So if you're collecting them for a dye friend or yourself, you have to use them while they're still perky, like you would want them to be if you bought them at a grocery store.
Alissa, do you know what color they turn to?
They do that purple, all of
Oh.
that purple.
Great.
Yeah,
Wow.
but you also need iron mordanted
I
wool.
wondered about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So this is one of those tricky species, but it's really easy to use. You find it in huge quantities, and it's a great beginner's mushroom. And I'll talk more about mordants in a minute.
You said iron what?
Mordant.
Mordant.
Yeah, I'll talk about it in a sec. So here are some dyeing basics. When you're working with mushroom dyes, protein fibers work the best. So wool, silk, alpaca, all the things that come from animals. And then also soy silk, which is, I don't know exactly what it is, but, and nylon, surprisingly. Those are two
Wow.
non-animal fibers that also work really well with mushroom dyes. This way. You can buy already made garments, like these wool socks. Nowadays you can get silk long underwear just about everywhere. If you're a spinner, you can dye roving. And these are silk spinners in Mexico. You don't need to be a maker or a knitter to dye. You can dye already made goods. Cellulose fibers don't take the dyes the same way. So this is somebody who's experimenting with trying to get tie-dyed t-shirts. And this is Dyer's Polypore and Cortinarius. And you can see it's a lot paler than one would hope it be. This is Dyer's Polypore that I'm wearing as well.
What happens even if you mordant it? It won't.
It's all mordanted. I think he's done some process to it, but you can tell it's just gonna kind of fade in the sunlight. It's pretty pale. Are a couple of the exceptions that I've seen. So this is a linen example that I saw at one of the International Fungus and Fiber Symposiums, and they said that they followed Michelle Garcia's cellulose fiber prep, which is like drenching it in soy milk and treating it with certain powders and things, and it looks pretty good. Like that's as good as wool looks. And then somebody in one of my classes brought cotton from Dharma Trading, and I'm like, don't do it, it's not gonna work. And then she's like, but I'm gonna do it. And I said, okay, fine. And it came out this is piezolythis that is normally a brown dye, and it's like monk's robe orange. It's the most beautiful color ever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the heck Dharma does to make that work, but try it. What do I know? Right? So mordants are mineral salts that bind to the fiber, and you apply them by either soaking or simmering the fiber with these mineral salts. And you use a certain ratio. So if you're using aluminum sulfate, which is one of the safest and most common mordants, you would use 15% to the weight of the fiber. And if you're using ferrous sulfate, which is iron, you would use 2% to the weight of the fiber. But you can see from this study that mordants, though they can alter the color, they're not really necessary. So the bottom one is without commercial mordants. So this was done with like citrus juice and red wine vinegar and what did I use? I can't remember what I used for the alkalinity, but natural things. It was for a fiber shed study, which is very orthodox, or can be very orthodox, and like only 100 miles from the source. So I used rusty nails and things like that.
Yeah.
So if you're afraid of mordants, you can still die with mushrooms. Mordanting is required for some of the more coveted colors. So blue greens and reds really are enhanced by pre-mordanting the fiber. Some purples, this is a Hapalopolis mushroom, which is not in this area, but you have Omphallotus, which makes a beautiful purple and does not require mordants. There are no hard, fast rules in mushroom dyeing, but I try to give some general ideas. So this is how I pre-mordant. I either do it on the stovetop, which takes an hour, or I do it overnight in a bucket in my bathtub. And it's cold, and you just let it sit. You stir it, and if you go into the bathroom, you stir it, and it comes out, and I've done tests, and it's the same either way.
Even when you do it with wool, because wool is very sensitive to. I have a friend who dyes with wool, and when she does that, the fibers get very brittle.
With certain things they can, but I haven't noticed that. And you can see my samples that we dyed this weekend back there, and pet them and see what you think. But this is the recipe that I use. So once I have my pre-mordanted fiber, I like to make these tester bundles. And each of, each of these strands has been treated differently. So the one without a knot has no treatment. 1 knot is alum, 2 knots is iron, 3 knots is tin, and 4 knots is copper. And this is how I used to do it because this is how I learned. And I was in a class, I had just tied hundreds of these things, and my hands were like cramped.
Right.
And I hardly have male students, but there was a male student, and he was like, why don't you just cut them at different lengths? So there we go. Learn something new every class. So when I'm trying to figure out if a mushroom is a dyer or not, I have this little portable setup, and I will collect. And when you're testing dye mushrooms, you want to have like a good handful of whatever it is you want to test. So I don't like find one little mushroom and test that. I go for abundant fleshy fungi that are colorful in their flesh. Like they can be colorful on the outside, but pale on the inside. You want to get something that's like saturated with color. It could be beige, but some sort of color. So, and then I simmer that fungus in this tiny little cook pan, camping pan, and I pour that liquid into these jars. So it's all the same liquid. I pour it into the jars, and then I'll add ammonia to make a pH of 9, vinegar to make a pH of 4, and then I leave one just neutral. And then I throw my little tester bundles in, one bundle in each thing, and that tells me whether the mushroom is even a dye mushroom, because most mushrooms are not dye mushrooms. And if it is a good dye mushroom, it tells me the best route to color. Wait, this way. Oh, well, you can see in this picture, if I just threw plain wool in with this mushroom, I would probably say, that's not really a dye mushroom. That's not worth my time because it's just beige. But look at all these other colors that if you have mordants and you have the pH at the right level, you're going to get some really beautiful results, unique results. So doing that testing really helps me figure out my path.
So the pH at 9, so it's really alkaline.
Yeah, 14 is the top. So anything below 10 and a half, I mean, I'll even go to 11 if there's a mistake, but
Does it saturate better?
some, but then some rely on an acidic extraction. And I think that's coming up here.
Are you saying you bring that kit with you out into the?
I mean, not always. Now I kind of know,
Okay.
but if I'm going somewhere I haven't been before,
Okay.
that was done with Talipocladium, which is a type of cordyceps that grows on deer truffles. And it has yellow flesh. And I was like, wonder if it works. So, and it's not in any books. So I had to try it, and it did not work.
When you say deer truffles?
Yeah.
Do you mean deer poop?
No, not that kind of deer truffle. There's,
I didn't know what a deer truffle
yeah,
was.
no, that's a good, I think they both share a common name.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Phil, am I calling Elaphomyces the right common name?
As far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, they're just like a little truffle that's not flavorful, and it just grows underground and gets attacked by this cordyceps.
So the cordyceps is sticking out of the
Yeah.
ground? Okay.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful, like, showy, fleshy cordyceps, unlike some of them. I don't think you can, oh, we're going for it now. So this is a porcini. Everybody's found porcini. If you're like me, you find old, nasty porcini. I never found them good. Oh, it's going on its own now.
Good.
Hopefully it stops soon. You can see with, how do I stop it? No! Go back. Okay. I dyed with this mushroom for a long time, and I always thought alkaline was the way to go, because when you add a little ammonia to this dye bath, it gets dark and it looks promising and you get some yellow. But when I did my testing, I found out I was totally wrong. You cannot judge what you're gonna get by looking at the dye bath. You just have to put wool in and see what happens. So I was really surprised, and now I always go acidic with yellow dyes.
Which part do you use? Like the tubing part?
Yeah, the tubes. Yeah,
So
and
you
only
can-
when they're old and rotten, which is how I always find them.
That's
So
how
we
Richard
can
likes
eat
it.
it or we dye it.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to eat the ones that you,
Oh,
like
yeah,
there's a
they do.
line where you're like, that is an edible mushroom and that is a dye mushroom.
What about iphthalmane?
That's what I'm saying.
But it's not the maggots that cause the dye?
No, but the maggots steal the dye because they're protein. So one of my favorite things about mordants is that you can mix and match to make these wild colors. And this is alum pre-mordanted, thrift stored materials, and then dyed in a tin bath with Dyer's polypore, and then dipped in iron to make this, I don't know, what do you call this green?
Chartreuse.
Yeah, I love it. It's what my sweater was done with. So unfortunately, you can't guess the color of the dye by looking at the fungus. The top row are things that are colorful and fleshy and abundant, but do not make dye. And then the bottom row are beigey kind of looking things that make these colors underneath them.
Wow.
Amazing.
So
Wow.
one of the things that I love about mushroom dyes is that it forces you to learn the families of the mushrooms, because that's how you can tell if a mushroom produces dye or not. So it tricks you into learning a little bit about mushroom identification and taxonomy. Yeah.
Is the one on one of those boxes acetic and the other one's alkaline?
No. Oh, it's iron or alum or whatever, actually. Some of them were, I don't know how to work this thing. Some of them, it's just kind of the best colors that you can get from those mushrooms. Okay, and I forget every time. Here we go. So this is your Western jack-o'-lantern mushroom. Stains your hands orange for a week, cannot get orange dye. You get purple or you get green. And this is with no mordant. You get the purple, this one, no mordant. This is with alum, this is with iron, and this is a second dye bath.
Does the mordant help to fix the color or anything?
In plant dyeing, that's what mordants mostly are used for. But in mushroom dyeing, it's mostly to shift the color. It doesn't really help with fixing it to the fiber.
What is the purple one on the left? Not the darker
The
purple one.
light one,
Yeah.
that's the second extraction.
Okay.
Because that purple, the dark purple was so good, I wanted to see if I could get more.
Yeah.
And not very much.
Okay. Because I've never been able to keep that purple when I use jack-o'-lantern mushroom.
Yeah, it's ephemeral.
Okay.
That's another talk.
So
Yeah.
if it doesn't fix the color, when you wash it, what happens?
It's just naturally fixed.
Okay.
Yeah. Mushrooms bind, especially this quaternarius, binds to the fiber permanently.
All right.
Like this sweater's been washed a dozen times.
Did you knit that yourself?
My friend knit it. I'm not a maker.
It's beautiful.
I mean, I crochet a little bit, but not much. There's a display back there. I don't know if everybody got to see it, but
Yeah, it's
after the
great.
talk, you can go check it out. So experimenting with dye mushrooms is easy. You can do it fresh or dry. If you're going by fresh, you have that water weight thing where you will never replicate that color exactly, but go for it. It's fun. And I go by volume for that. So I squish my yarn into a shape, and then I squish my mushrooms into a shape twice. So 2 to 1. Uh-oh,
What
it's
was
doing
that
that
last
thing again.
mushroom?
That was lobster mushroom. Ah! Oh my gosh.
So your fiber is the 2-part, or is the mushroom the 2-part?
I always do fungi first.
Okay.
That's the. It's probably different for everybody, but that's how I did. Yeah, and lobster mushrooms are the same as the porcini. You only use the rotten, over the hill specimens.
But those look really nice.
It's a photo op. I eat those too. It's a photo op.
Okay.
Okay.
I was about to say, those look pretty nice looking.
So general extraction, I use a paint strainer bag, which is just this thing you get at Ace Hardware. It's like a big tea bag, and that keeps the mushroom bits contained. And then I'll put the fiber around in the dye bath so that it can move freely in the water. You simmer the mushrooms for an hour, and then you put the fiber in and you simmer that for an hour. So it's generally a 2-hour process. There's all sorts of mushrooms that do not follow those rules, but that's the general way. So you want to stir gently for even coverage, and when it's pink, you know it's getting there, and then when it's red, you know it's done. Here.
When did the working word ammonia and acid goes in?
This one doesn't have that. Yeah. But if you, and it's different for each mushroom family. So for lobster mushrooms, so many exceptions to the rule. For coral mushrooms, you need to use fresh mushrooms with iron mordanted wool. For lobster mushrooms, you want to get it alkaline just a little bit to get that color to release. And then you can dip it in an acid and turn it bright orange. If you dip it in an alkaline solution, it's like vinaceous red. So,
Are you working on a cookbook or anything?
I don't know. And then, so no mordants and a short cook time is what gives your jack-o'-lantern that purple. Dead man's foot. This was really at a cemetery.
That's where they go.
So I found this recipe by accident. In the old days, when I first started dyeing, Dorothy Beebe, grandmother of mushroom dyeing, would slice these mushrooms up, put them on the dehydrator, probably in her house. I don't know, like spore. These things are spore balls. And I picked some. They were juicy. I stuffed them in a Ziploc bag because that's how I roll, and put those in my car, and I was traveling across the country.
Oh, no.
And 6 months later, I reached under my seat and I found this squishy bag, and I didn't even remember what it was. But I smelled the outside of it, and it smelled like miso, and it smelled like cocoa.
Wow.
And if you left anything else in a plastic bag for 6 months in your car, it would smell terrible. But the trick to this, working with this mushroom, is doing this fermenting in the bag, but squeezing all the air out. So it's an anaerobic fermentation, and it produces alcohols and yeasts that never eat your dyes. It's not edible, but it smells pleasant for being a mushroom in a bag for 6 months. And the spores are no longer hydrophobic. So in the old days, you would boil the spores for like 3 days with dish soap and ammonia, trying to get them to sink. But the nature of this mushroom's reproduction is that it blows in the wind and flies across water. And so anyways, this is the way to do it. And then you just use your intuition to plop it in to the pot. This is also called the dog turd fungus. In Mexico, they call it the donkey turd fungus.
Donkey turd.
It's got fun names. So celebrate your palette of place. This is the Northern California rainbow. Pretty nice. Not everybody has this. Southern California does not have this.
Where did you get the blue color from on that last picture?
Hiddenellums and
Oh,
Phelodons.
thank you.
So these are, Mycopigments is the name of my business, and these are my resources. I am on Instagram, but I really don't like it. I'm on Facebook. My Mushroom and Lichen Dyers United, which I'm so proud of, started out here as a way to reach people who couldn't get to my classes, and as a way for students to communicate with each other and learn from each other. And it's turned into an international group of over 55,000 members.
What?
And
Wow.
it, like, people are posting all the time from places. It's a beautiful thing. And I keep it real nice. There's none of that other thing that happens on the mushroom forums.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. And then I also have Mushroom Dyers training post, because sometimes you need mushrooms that grow in other places. Sometimes you've got a bunch of jam and you want to trade it for something that, you know, a mushroom dye that you don't have. So Mushroom Dyers Training Post is another Facebook group. Oh, come back. So these are some of the fun things that happen on Mushroom and Lichen Dyers United. It's a peer-to-peer learning system. So we have people who are like, I found Omphalotus, how do I get that purple? People guide them through it and they get the purple, which is actually really hard to get.
Yes.
We have new applications. Sydney Obersingleton has made this UV reactive henna out of Dyer's polypore, and with that lichen that changes colors, made a cyanotype of himself. Pretty cool. And then sheep to shawl kind of things, where people are like spinning their own fiber and making things. Sitara made, like, she taught herself to spin and made this entirely mushroom dyed amazing sweater.
Wow.
Sue Gazelle created the urine recipe for lichen dyes.
I love it.
And it was a contest and she won and wrote up the whole thing. And then Gavin Mars is doing like extensive research, tomes of research on how to get the best purples from a mushroom or from a lichen that gives kind of shabby purples up where I live, Evernia pronastri.
Oh.
The best way to learn is to join your mushroom club. So thank you all for being here. And face-to-face mentorship. You have a great textile arts guild here. So I've learned so much from my students, specifically from this guild. And then this is the International Fungus and Fiber Symposium that just happened in Gran Canaria, Spain, in January of 2025. And I got to host the 2022 International Fungus and Fiber Symposium in Port Townsend. It was the biggest one ever because it's usually hosted in a small country, and we have this big country. So I wanted to embrace the whole US. So that we had representation, mushrooms from all over the US, dye mushrooms. So the IMDI is an organization started by Miriam Rice in Mendocino, and they offer a travel grant to the IFFS. So if you are interested in applying for the travel grant, these are the people to check with. And if you're interested in donating to the travel grant, which is a very honorable thing to do, you can do that by buying mushroom dyes, paper, pigments, and myco sticks. The proceeds from that go to this travel grant. And, or if you have mushroom dyed things, you can submit them to the IMDI gallery, and there's a small donation to do that. And it funds one or more people to go to these conferences. Kim and Zach Hunter, Zach, formerly Chef Zach Mazzi from Santa Cruz.
Yeah, right.
He and his wife Kim are leading these tours in Mexico, and I've been fortunate enough to go along for the last 4 years in Oaxaca and teach indigenous communities about working with the mushrooms that they have in their forests. So all of these adventures are an exchange where I learn more than, or as much as I teach, and these are foraging communities who are already out in the woods foraging for mushrooms, but haven't used dye mushrooms before. So it's a really beautiful thing. And our next event is going to be in Chiapas this year, and I haven't been to Chiapas before, so I'm really looking forward to it. I've seen pictures of the blue-green dye makers and the red Cortinarius and mushrooms that make really good dyes. So I'm excited to try them out. Remember to invest in the next generation. These children are amazing foragers, and it really makes an impression for life. A special thanks to the women in mycology who invested in me. And celebrate your palette of place together. This is my dearest dye friend Linda and our beautiful palette of place. We get together once a year and try to use all of our dye mushrooms up. And then I'll leave it on this slide and open up for questions. Kat.
When I am dyeing with using pH strips, I have noticed I bought so many of those little things of pH, and they always seem to mess up for me. They don't come true, to the number that they should, the color,
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do about that.
Well,
I want
you
to
could
change the pH and I want to know what I'm doing.
You could get a pH meter, but then you have to calibrate it, and it's an expensive piece of equipment. Or you can just, these
eyeball it.
Yeah, these pH papers are really cheap.
Yes.
And the color correlation is not true. It's
Right.
like, but you know, if it's dark, it's probably one of the greens, and if it's purple, you know, you can guesstimate, and that's enough for mushroom dyeing.
Yeah, it'll turn purple in a little bit and then I'll lose it.
Yeah.
It'll be gray.
Oh, no.
Oh, the color of the dye.
Yeah. the
That's
color of the
common.
dye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Omphalotus is hard to work with, but when you get that purple,
yeah.
it feels
Yeah,
so
it's
good.
beautiful.
Any more questions?
Is this your career, your full-time job? Like it seems like a big.
This is my passion. I've been doing it
Yeah.
professionally since 2012 and beyond that since 2002-ish.
Well, it's pretty interesting.
Thank you.
Don't you have a book coming out?
I
think I asked you this question 5 years ago.
It's hard. You know, some people make it look so easy to just whip out a book,
It's hard.
but I'm not that person.
I think Chad and I had locked himself up for 3 months.
Yeah, I've talked to Chad a little bit about how to do it. But now, I don't know. At this point, do people even look at books anymore? People buy them though. That's true.
Yeah.
Also in the forest, any other dye resource like tree leaves, grass?
I'm a mushroom nerd 100%. Yep. I don't know anything about plant dyes. But my friend is dyeing with sea urchin, the purple sea urchin. So there's weird stuff out there.
Take your hands.
That's purple dye, right?
What's the toxicity of the mortise? Can you just pour that stuff down the drain?
Yeah, alum and iron, safe.
Yeah.
You can pour them in your garden, safe for everything. There's a gradient. So
Copper doesn't go down the drain.
but then you can buy the spray on your roof. So, you know, there's like organic strawberries are sprayed with copper. So there's like, yeah,
They destroy the sewage treatment plant.
it's a fungicide
Yeah.
and it's natural. So at least that's what I've heard. I've never grown organic strawberries. But so there are, the way that I see it, and I've talked to elders in the dye community, people have been doing this for a long time. But the grandmothers of mushroom dyeing tested their tin mordanted wool because they were worried about it. So they mordant at 2%, and then they tested the water after they mordanted, and there was less free tin in the water than in the tap water. So the wool sucks it up. So if you measure your mordants, that's the idea, is that it should all be absorbed into the fiber.
So you're wearing it.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, we're wearing, if you're wearing a commercially dyed thing, you're wearing chrome and all the bad things. So, and we're fine, right? We're totally fine. Yeah, we're fine.
Oh my god.
Anybody?
What is the element in the mushroom making like the chemical changes in the
Our resident chemist might be able to tell us. Anthraquinones is what people say. There's like a bunch of things, but I'm not a chemist. I'm a kitchen chemist.
All different problems.
So
Yeah.
I just got back from New Zealand because on my bucket list was that lovely blue Antheloma.
Yes.
Is that a dye?
No. But Miriam Rice did get blue dye, but I don't know how color fast or anything like that, from that midnight blue Antheloma that you have, that
Oh, yes,
dark
yes.
marginate gild thing.
But
So-
that would take a lot of mushrooms.
All right, and you only find one, and you're
they're
like,
small.
oh,
They're not very big.
exactly.
Well, how about Enteloma midionots? That
It doesn't work.
doesn't work.
Yeah, most
of the Enteloma.
Yeah, Antheloma is not a dye species or genus.
Where do you source your mordants from, and have you found that like some are better than others?
Yes, I just bought some really bunk alum. It's wet. I don't know. I mean, so there's a price gradient, and the reason I got the bunk alum is because it was cheap. So, you know, you have to kind of decide where you fall on that spectrum. But my favorite alum I just get from Dharma Trading,
Yeah, me
and it's
too.
Jacquard brand, and it's like granular, and I don't know, it's like salt. where some of it's like shards and like, but you definitely want to wear masks when you work with these powders and spores. You want to dehydrate anything outside. You want to grow mushrooms outside. You want to do all mushroom things outside, because the more exposure you have to the spores, the more sensitive you get.
Oh dear.
Ask anybody that does fungus fairs. I mean,
Yeah.
after years of exposure, you get kind of junky after being locked in a room with a bunch of spores.
That's what's going on.
Okay, thank you all so much for sticking around and be sure to check out the display back there. I made some of the granny square things, but most of it